Here, okie dokie. Hello, everybody. If you can hear me just fine, go ahead and type yes in the chat below. Just want to make sure that we're good to go there. Oh, lovely. Great. We love when my audio works. Sometimes it does not. But hello, everyone. Welcome to our fourth and final installment of our ZagTalk 101 summer webinar series. My name is Anna Sanford, and I am the Office Coordinator for Parent and Family Relations and Office of New Student and Family Programs. I'll be hosting the Q&A portion of this webinar later on. Before we begin, I wanted to let everyone know that we do have live transcriptions available for today's webinar. There should be a CC button.
Oh, Anna, you muted yourself.
Wow, thank you. There should be a CC button at the bottom of your screen so you can enable subtitles if you would like. Today, I am joined by Joan Iva Fawcett, the Assistant Dean of DICE, which stands for Diversity, Inclusion, Community, and Equity, Anthony Medina, the Assistant Director of Community Engaged Learning at CCE, our Center for Community Engagement, and Dr. Colleen Vandenboom, the Assistant Dean of Student Involvement and Leadership. Following their presentations, we'll do a combined Q&A session for about 15 minutes. If you have any questions during the presentations, feel free to drop them in the chat below. We also ask that you remain muted the entire time that you're with us today. As always, this webinar is being recorded, so if you'd like to rewatch it at any time, a link to the recording will be posted in our communications portal and on our Gonzaga New Student and Family Programs YouTube page within the next couple of days. So with that, I'm going to turn off my camera and hand things over to Joan Iva to begin our first presentation.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Let me get my PowerPoint ready. All right, here we go. It's great to be here. As Anna mentioned, I'm Joan Iva. I'm the Assistant Dean for DICE, which stands for Diversity, Inclusion, Community, and Equity. I always like to start every presentation with our mission statement. Don't know how many of your students actually care too much about this, but I do think it's important for folks to know that Gonzaga is pretty mission focused, and I like to pull out these two quotes because it's, I think, telling of our student experience. So we're all about cura personalis, which is care for the whole person. And in the second paragraph, the last line, it talks about how we are developing the whole person intellectually, spiritually, culturally, physically, and emotionally. And I'm underlining culturally here because it was actually the latest modification to this mission statement that was just made 5 years ago. Nope, I can't do the math. 4 years ago in 2017, right about the time when I had joined the community. And I learned the story that this was really advocated for by students, our GSBA president and some of our students of color really wanting culturally to be pronounced that this was an important part of their identity. And I thought that was really awesome that students could advocate that kind of change. The other sentence I wanted to pull out, which gets quoted all the time, at least for students who are engaged in our office, is this idea that the Gonzaga experience fosters a mature commitment to dignity of the human person, social justice, diversity, intercultural competence, global engagement, solidarity with the poor and vulnerable, and care for the planet, right? It's a mouthful, it's a huge promise, it's very aspirational, and our students are very quick to tell us when we fall short of that, but I think it's awesome that this is what we say we're all about. So DICE includes 2 centers, which I'll tell you more about later, but essentially the purpose and the target audience, our 2 centers started in order to provide a safe space and support system for historically underrepresented and traditionally marginalized student groups. Both centers have been around for about 15 to 25 years, respectively. But over the years, or rather decades, I think cultural centers have expanded their purpose to really outreach and educate all students in their social identity development, their cultural fluency, and connection to social justice. So we really see this idea of cultural fluency as something that is necessary to navigate this increasingly complex world, that it's up there with leadership skills. It's actually like part of leadership skills. It's what employers are looking for. How well do you engage with others who are different from you? So I would prefer to actually share a video, but I will come back and elaborate a little bit more, but you can hear straight from our students and some of my colleagues who I work directly with about what DICE does.
DICE stands for Diversity, Inclusion, Community, and Equity. And within DICE, we have two departments. One is UMEC, the Unity Multicultural Education Center, and then the Lincoln LGBTQ plus Resource Center.
These centers are not just for students with underrepresented identities, but they're actually for all students. We focus our work around three pillars: mentoring, social justice programming, and intercultural development. It's important to know kind of what your cultural values are, what you bring to the table, how to advocate for yourself, and most importantly, how to advocate for those who are struggling even more.
The Lincoln LGBTQ plus Resource Center is a place for students to explore their own identities as well as get education about the larger lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and many other multifaceted aspects of sexual orientation and gender identity communities. And it provides resources as a community space, programming, mentoring, and opportunities for students to engage with other students in dialogue across identities and within identities.
One of the main ways that UMEC advocates for underrepresented students is through the Bridge program, which I help to coordinate. There's a summer pre-orientation program, and that is catered towards underrepresented students.
It's a 1-week pre-orientation program for students of color, low income, marginalized identities, LGBTQ plus communities, and it's really a program to help transition students from high school into college.
If you're an incoming student, definitely do Bridge. It's a pre-orientation program. I did it, and it helps you set up the foundation you need to come onto this campus confidently, and your parents will know you'll be supported because we have a parent program too. If I didn't do Bridge, if I didn't get involved with DICE, I wouldn't be here to this day.
I work in the UMEC Center, which is super fun and exciting because I, not only get to meet new people and interact, but also in my specific pillar, I get to work in programming. So I get to plan different co-curricular events, specifically focusing on social justice initiatives and also highlighting different marginalized and historically oppressed groups and kind of giving them a voice that they typically don't have, which is super important here at Gonzaga. I'd say overall their experience at Gonzaga is enriched through these programs in that they find a sense of belonging here. Our intercultural development pillar is really all about sustaining dialogues around important social justice topics. And I think that is almost a lost art at this point, right? Like the ability to dialogue across difference and still really develop some empathy and understanding of the other perspective.
DICE looks at things from multiple perspectives and makes sure that we're engaging people across difference because it relates to our Jesuit, Catholic, and humanistic values of education and that liberal arts perspective of knowing that there isn't one way of being or experiencing, but in fact multiple ways, and it's through that tapestry of individuals that we become a greater and more diverse and vibrant whole. And through that opportunity and through that engagement, then we hear things from perspectives and we get challenged, and that's how we learn.
At Gonzaga, we build the basic steps of respecting an individual, respecting their background, and understanding that they have a lived experience that is theirs. And once we understand that, we can talk about it like people.
DICE helps students find their home at Gonzaga through exploring more of their own identities and also exploring more of their peers' identities as well. A big way that students also find their place at Gonzaga. Those cultural clubs are everything from Black Student Union to the Queer Student Union to our intercultural student club. So really, if there's not a club that's already for you, then you can pretty easily form one yourself.
And also we provide some internships based on the collaboration that we have with Bridge and other departments, even community resources that we have here, to use those skills not just in the academic setting, but also out in the real world.
I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and it was when I, worked through DICE that I found what I wanted to do, not only like in my studies and my major, but also going forward. And I think DICE has really instilled in me important values that I will carry on into grad school, hopefully, and then into my future career.
If you use the resources, you'll enrich your education, enrich your personal identity, and enrich like your friend groups because you'll be able to talk about things that matter.
All right. Well, I think that kind of says it all, but I will elaborate. And I just love those students. They all graduated last year. Tiana's starting law school at Seattle University. Salma is going into public health. And then Joseph is going to be an engineer. So all amazing rock stars. So as the video mentions, we have the department is DICE. We have the two centers, UMAC and Lincoln LGBTQ+ Resource Center. And then we really organize our work around the 3 pillars of mentoring, social justice programming, and intercultural development. I know this is going to be kind of repetitive, but I just want to dig a little deeper. With our Bridge program, which starts as a Social Justice and Leadership Institute, literally they're coming next week, and it turns into a first-year mentoring program during their first academic year. And 97% of the students rate as a valuable experience in their transition to college. And I love this one quote from one of our students last year, is that my Bridge mentors saw the qualities of a good leader in me before I saw it in myself. They encouraged me to get involved on campus early on. So they get assigned to families, they get a peer mentor, a faculty and staff mentor, and they just kind of navigate the college experience together. Our social justice programming, we bring speakers, we show films, we kind of host art and activism series. Helen Zia is a renowned speaker around both the Asian American movement as well as LGBTQ+ rights, coming from San Francisco, and will be here in the fall showing Black Wall Street documentary and then a post-screening discussion as an example. But sometimes things that students don't learn in K through 12, sometimes all throughout college, you know, that this historic moment happened in time, and then some hands-on art activism workshops. Your students living on campus will also have an assigned social justice peer educator in addition to their resident advisor and resident director. So there's one per residential block, and they are just an additional support and also provide workshops and programming. And then our intercultural development pillar, the students will have an opportunity to actually take this as a class if they'd like. It's offered as a first-year seminar, which is part of the core curriculum, or they could do it as a co-curricular opportunity. And really it's around dialoguing across difference. So often we'll try to demographically mix up the small groups. With sustained dialogue, it's focused on a campus issue or a community issue that they want to resolve, and it's based through relationships and finding stakeholders. So I love these 2 quotes. One from a Japanese American female participant in our race group, because we have groups based on different social identities, whether it's gender, socioeconomic status. So they said, I identify more strongly as a person of color now, and it obviously has inspired me even more to be active in changing the systems of oppression and hate that breed and facilitate racism, but not to hate someone for it. And then love this one from a white male participant. Before IGD, which is intergroup dialogue, I always felt like I was walking on glass when talking to people of color about race, but it's less so now, way less. So I just think having these skills developed in them as college students will just prepare them even more for employment and, you know, the world out there. The Lincoln Center gets to do all of the pillars. In addition, we have a lavender graduation ceremony. We always welcome allies, and we do a sexuality and gender equity certification training for our faculty and staff, and intact student leadership groups. So the video mentioned all the different cultural clubs. There's about 7 to 10 of them each year that opt into the Unity Alliance, where we meet twice a month to just kind of increase communication and collaboration across the board. And we would not be able to do any of this without our amazing student leaders who we employ. We have about 35 to 40 student positions, and we still have some openings for first-year students. So if your student's looking for a job, tell them to come our way. This is the professional staff. A couple of them were featured in the video, but there's 6 of us all together. And I think that's gonna kind of wrap it up. There's many, many ways to stay in touch with us through social media. And we also have a weekly email newsletter that folks outside of the GU community can subscribe to if you wanna know what's going on in our center, but also around campus. We advertise anything diversity, equity, and inclusion related. So that kind of, yep, that wraps it up.
Awesome. Thank you, Joan Iva. Just as a reminder for those that hopped on late, we are recording this session. You can watch it later either in our communications portal or on our YouTube page. We also have closed captioning available if you would like that option. If you had any questions for Joan Iva, go ahead and drop them in the chat now and we'll get to them in our combined Q&A session at the end of this webinar. But for now, I'm going to turn things over to Anthony Medina for his CCE presentation.
Hi, everybody. Anna, can you give me the thumbs up that you see my presentation here? Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Anthony Medina. I am the Assistant Director of Community Engaged Learning at the Center for Community Engagement. It's really, really good to be with you all. I'm really excited to welcome your students as they arrive to campus this fall, and I wanted to spend a little time introducing you to our center and inviting your students to engage in our Spokane community. So what is the Center for Community Engagement? The Center for Community Engagement, also known as the CCE, there are a ton of acronyms here at Gonzaga. CCE is one of them. We provide meaningful opportunities for our students, our staff, and our faculty to connect with our broader community through meaningful service experiences, deep community engagement, and advocacy efforts that address critical social justice issues that matter to our students and to our communities. We offer about 17 programs that allow students to connect more deeply with our community and serve alongside their peers. We also partner with over 180 nonprofit community agencies here in Spokane that address critical issues such as homelessness, immigrant and refugee support, elderly care, environmental justice, and many more topics that our students are interested in kind of getting involved in. Through these experiences, our hope is that students grow in their understanding of complex societal issues, will have the desire and the ability to challenge oppression in their communities, and will seek solidarity with those impacted by injustice. So this is a little bit about what we do, but we want to connect what we do to our Jesuit mission. Oh, are y'all still seeing my slideshow here? Okay, there we go. So honoring our Catholic, our Jesuit, our humanistic tradition, community engagement is a direct expression of the commitment to social justice and solidarity found in these parts of our identity at Gonzaga. Right? The opening line of the Gonzaga mission statement reads that Gonzaga University is an exemplary learning community that educates students for lives of leadership and service for the common good. Deep engagement in our communities allows us to fulfill this part of our mission and help foster in our students that same mature commitment to the dignity of human person, social justice, diversity, solidarity, right? In short, engagement with our communities is part of what makes Jesuit education so unique, so special, and is part of what we do here at Gonzaga. So in light of that mission, the CCE's vision statement helps to illustrate our approach to building relationships and engaging in our community. Our vision statement reads that we believe every person has infinite worth and that together we can create a more just and equitable world. This statement speaks to the respect and the dignity that we expect all of our students to share and express in our community, and that our collective efforts together are oriented towards social change and not solely direct acts of charity, right? So the works that we do in the community that are direct service are important, they're great, they're part of the work that we do, but those are also tied to broader social change and advocacy efforts that our students are interested in being a part of. And while these, our mission statement, our vision statement, right, they're beautiful words that we put on our website, they're on t-shirts, they're on posters, that's all true. But getting involved in our communities and living out our vision creates opportunities for our students to be a part of this mission and lead to real transformation in ourselves, our students, and our communities. So how can our students get involved? Below on this page, you'll see some meaningful ways that you can engage in our community through the CCE. So these are programs that we help to run. The first is that your students may come across community engaged learning classes. These are classes that are tied to a 20-hour requirement to do service in the community, right? CEL is a teaching and learning strategy that integrates meaningful service with instruction and reflection to enrich the learning experience, teach civic responsibility, and strengthen our communities. Each year, we support over 100 sections of community engaged learning, working with faculties, community partners, and students to help our students get out into the community, connected with placements that fulfill this course requirement. So if your student happens to be in a class their first year that is CEL, they'll be working with our office. And down the line, if they choose to take CEL courses, they'll also be working with us. Next is our youth programs and initiatives. These are our mentoring and tutoring programs. Our award-winning programs provide opportunities for our students to work every week with local elementary, middle, and high school youth. Students will connect with youth as a mentor, while also learning about the local community and societal issues that face our youth here in Spokane. These are primarily year-long service opportunities, so students who would like to be part of these should do so up front in the fall because they do kind of last all year. But we also offer a couple of different weekly student engagement volunteer opportunities that are semester-based. So these might be preparing meals and serving meals with our campus kitchens program, forming community with adults with disabilities with our Gonzaga University Specialized Recreation Program, or working alongside one of our many nonprofit partners through Zag Volunteer Corps. Again, these opportunities are more semester-based. Finally, we have our advocacy and immersion programs. So during winter and spring break, students can commit to a week of meaningfully engaging with communities all over the country, right? From El Paso, Texas to Nia Bay, Washington, and many in between. Our immensely popular service immersion programs send groups of students across the country to learn and engage in a diverse set of communities and around issues such as immigration, racism, homelessness, and environmental justice. These programs, we are planning on running these programs this year. In January, we'll be doing 3 immersions to the border. And in the spring, we'll be doing 4 Mission Impossible spring break immersion trips regionally, driving distance from Gonzaga. Yeah, and there's also opportunities to engage in advocacy through our work with the Ignatian Family Teaching for Justice. In typical years, this is an in-person trip to Washington, D.C., where students join with other Jesuit works from across the country and advocate in Washington, D.C. This year, we're going to be hosting that virtually and holding space here on campus for students to engage with the virtual conference and participate in advocacy here locally in Spokane. Finally, the CCE helps to lead our Opportunity Northeast, Gonzaga's place-based initiative. And this is an opportunity for our students to get to know their neighbors through Opportunity Northeast. So at GU, we recognize that education must expand beyond the boundaries of the classroom out into the world, right? We recognize the importance of place, and our place here is Northeast Spokane, and honor our connection to Northeast Spokane. We seek to foster a thriving community for those who live, learn, and work here, and share. And some opportunities to engage might be sharing a meal with our neighbors every Tuesday at the Logan Family Meal, open to our whole Gonzaga community. You might want to join us for the Logan Neighborhood Cleanup in the spring, or help us kick off the year with our Logan Neighborhood Block Party. There's a bunch of ways to engage in our Northeast community, and we really recommend that our students get out and get to know their community a little bit. So I have some to-dos for y'all students. I'll go through this quickly, but the first is to get out of the GU bubble. Our campus is beautiful. Our campus is great. There are so many things that we could do here on campus, but a lot of our students will be living in the Logan community and throughout Northeast Spokane, right? And so we want our students to get to know this community. However long they attend GU, they're members of the Spokane community. And to get to know their neighbors and get involved in community work, shop locally, and get to know the history of this place is what we'd like to see our students be a part of, right? Some practical things: we are hosting a service fair Wednesday, September 8th from 10 to 2 p.m. on Bulldog Alley. We'll have all of our community, well, not all, about 40 of our community partners and all of our programs tabling on Bulldog Alley for students to learn more about our programs. Volunteer applications will open at the beginning of the school year. So if students are interested in getting involved, they can learn more about our programs at our website and apply there as well. We also have a few job opportunities for first-year students if they're looking for work. Zag's Ignite hosts all of those opportunities, but also on our social media is the best way to kind of get keep up to date with all those opportunities. So Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, please follow us. Finally, stop by the CCE. We're going to be back on campus this fall, right? And we're so excited to welcome your students in person and in our spaces. So stop by, get to know us. We're located in Hemmington 206 and 010. So yeah, as you can see, there are plenty of ways to get involved here. Whatever your students are passionate about, we hope that they'll find their home here in the CCE in our Spokane community. Please let me know if you have any questions. We'd love to answer them for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Anthony. Like he said, if you have any questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat below, and we'll get to them at the end of the webinar. We are also recording this presentation for anybody that joined us late, so you'll be able to watch this recording later on. With that, I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Colleen Vandenboom with Student Involvement and Leadership.
Perfect. Thanks, Anna. Hi, everyone. So what you'll notice today, can you all hear me? Yeah, cool, good. Okay, sorry, I've got two different screens going. So what you're gonna notice today is that there's gonna be different flavors for involvement. And as Jonava and Anthony mentioned, there's no right way. Your students are probably gonna pop in and out of our different programs. And there are things that you're gonna say, man, I wish I could have done that when I was in college. And maybe there's something else that your child or your student is really gonna love. So just know, all of our students are interweaving between all of these programs, and really we just want your students to find a place that they're excited about, that they love, that drives up some passion, you know, they make some friends. They're awesome programs all over campus. But I'm excited to tell you about student involvement and leadership today. So the kind of what to expect from our time together. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what involvement looks like at GU. This will be absolutely a fire hose of information because I get excited and have a lot to talk about. I'll tell you about who I am, so if that's helpful in framing it up. We're going to talk a little bit about what we want you as folks and parents to know about involvement at GU, and really our advice about getting involved. So without further ado, we believe you got to see it to believe it. So I'm going to play this 1-minute video for you about involvement.
The audio's not coming through, Dr. Vandenboom.
I don't know what it is about that 1950s beach surfer music that I feel like matches involvement, but hopefully you dug it. Anyway, so that was, like I said, fire hose of what's happening. So I'm Colleen Vandenboom. So a little bit about me. I've been in student affairs and in this work since about 2003. I'm a dual citizen. My parents are from Ireland and I grew up in Seattle. I'm a first generation college student. So some of your children are probably could be in similar boats. And so just know that there's a lot of us first gen students on on this campus. And so we can talk about with your students what it feels like to kind of experience college for the first time in your family. Grew up, went to UW, then Florida, down to UCLA, and graduated my master's in business last year. So I am a Zag as well. And I'm stoked. I've been here 7 years, so I feel really lucky to be in this department. Part of our area, so I get to work with some of these wonderful folks, and I'll talk about their programs, but just know there's a lot of friendly faces that are willing and excited to help mentor your students who have maybe similar identities or similar backgrounds to some of your students. So they'll hopefully find some folks to connect with. Plus, obviously, our 300 student employees are really the folks that make our programs, that make things exciting. Student volunteers, they're running all the clubs, etc. Within our world of student involvement and leadership, there's really 5 areas that make up our little family. So the first one is Center for Student Involvement. I'll show you some more about that in a minute. But that really includes our Spike Nights, which is our free weekend programs, our 110 clubs, our student government, got Gonzaga Outdoors, which sounds exactly what it is. It's the outdoor programs, it's bike rental, it's camping rental, hiking trips, rafting, you name it. Our Payne Center for Leadership Development is what we call co-curricular leadership development. So there are leadership classes through a leadership minor. This is not that. This is about, it's open for everybody. Student media is our newspaper, yearbook, our journals, photogs, and then finally our transfer veteran returning adult students. So we have about 500 of our ZAGs are transfer students. And so we really think about that population and serve to help them, connect and feel like they belong at GU as well. I'm not going to read all of this, but there's a lot of research. So if you're like, I don't know about involvement for my student, well, I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of research that says it's a really, really good idea. We know as researchers and academics that when students find connection and belonging, they have higher academic success, they're more likely to graduate, they're more satisfied, they're more willing to take risks, problem solve. So if you're not convinced, any of us in student affairs can go sit down for days to talk about all the reasons that involvement outside of the classroom is super critical to your student success. And really, it's about love and belonging. Ultimately, when you feel like you belong and you're valued for who you are more likely to be successful. You know that in your own life. I know that in my own life. We do it here. One thing to know about GU, if you hadn't picked up, GU, the question isn't really, are you involved? It's what are you involved in? So about 82% of our students are involved in a club or a club sport. So super active campus. And like I said, there's no really right way to be involved. It's whatever is going to fit you and your student and make them happy and connected. Of course, we have some advice. And so what I did, I took a beat and Dan, this is Dan, he's wonderful. He works in our office. And Dan is a rising senior. And I said, hey, Dan, will you reach out to your mom? And so he did. He said, these are the questions that my mom would want to know. The first one that she said was, what kind of advice should she as a parent give her child about how to find out about activities? And so what I'm going to say is, hey, Dan's mom, there's a club fair, which is a great event, happens on September 10th. There's also this fantastic website called ZagTivities. It has all of the events. It has all of the clubs. There's emails that come out. Let's put it this way. Dan's mom, we are coming to your students with all the information. So as long as they are reading their email and opening their eyes on campus, they can't miss out. What about athletic opportunities for students who want to stay active but maybe didn't, make the rowing team or the basketball team? Intramurals is major here. It's intramurals and club sports are 2 ways that our students can continue to be active without necessarily playing at the NCAA division league, right? So intramurals some are co-ed, some are single gender. So that'll just depend on what your student wants to. And then what's nice, club sports, everything from rugby to hockey, those are highly competitive in a great way. So your students can still travel. And in fact, our men's baseball team they won regionals last year. So we have some really high top club sports teams, and they'll be doing tryouts and information in early September. What do I know? What do I need to know to encourage your student to be involved? I think really the first thing is college is way more fun and doable if you've got other people who are going through it with you. And maybe someday you don't like your roommate. And so do you want to have somebody in a club that you can hang out with or another outlet? There's a lot of identities within all of us. And so why not check them all out? You know, have your roommate friends and have your, you know, your club soccer friends and have your UMEC friends. And that's where the fun gets, is kind of checking it all out. The most popular activities on campus, intramural is crazy popular. It just is. We have a pretty active campus. And then I would say any of the clubs and service opportunities, there's a big range there. Service opportunities, Anthony just talked about those, so you all know about that. And then faith building, obviously we're a Catholic Jesuit school, that's important to us, and a part of our identity development. What's awesome, our friends in mission ministry are hosting retreats, they're hosting Christian life circles. They have like 7 amazing staff that are super approachable and talk about faith in a really amazing and nurturing way that allows people to come and feel like they belong no matter what their faith background is. And they're just doing cool things. So there'll be, you know, a men's retreat, different things like that. So mission ministry is they have a great Instagram account. So I always recommend students to check out that spot. I also, my staff laughs, but I talk about involvement. It's like dating, right? So we don't want your student to come in and find their serious, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend. We don't want your kid to get married the first week of school. We want them to come in and meet people and go out on dates. And that's how we feel about involvement. Come in, go to club fair, you know, chat with other clubs, and kind of feel it out. You don't need to jump into involvement too fast. In fact, we've even really highlighted this at the club fair this year, that we're going to be talking about kind of what is low involvement like, what is medium, what is high, and how different clubs and different activities are going to ask for more time. So a club sport is absolutely more time than being a member, you know, of the kennel club or the film club, etc. So, and then I want to show you, I'm super stoked. This is our cool space up in the Hemmingson spot. It's literally a 1-minute tour. So hope you enjoy. Sorry, technical difficulties. Thanks for your patience. Cool. So the reason I want to show you that is space is important. And so I think what you'll notice is all over Gonzaga, there are different pockets and lounges and student spaces for your students to study, hang out, chill, meet friends. And that's one example. UMEC and CCE also have chill hangout space. So if your student is, you know, struggling, feeling like, I don't want to be in my room today, great, go study in Hemmingson and any of the lounges. We want to hang out and see your students. So I think that's it. Without further ado, now if I can find the stop sharing button, I'll be even more set, Anna. I'm struggling, honey.
Thank you, Dr. Vandenboom.
You're welcome. I literally am trying to find it. I think I hid it somewhere, y'all.
Let's see.
Do you see
Maybe
it?
I can stop you from sharing.
Please do. People need to do that more often. It's literally hidden. Isn't that weird?
Maybe I can make that. Oh, it disappeared. It went tiny. Let's see. Maybe let's see. Stop sharing. There we go. I did it. Fantastic.
Look how brilliant our students are, right?
Okie dokie. Thank you, Dr. Vandenboom, for that amazing presentation. With that, we're going to move into the Q&A portion of our webinar. We have about 20 minutes left for questions. There was a quick question and answer in the chat about work study and jobs on campus that Dr. Vandenboom answered. You can hop on, or your student can hop on Zag's Ignite and find job postings on there, or they can email the department directly. And it looks like, oh, and the answer to Ultimate Frisbee, yes, there is Ultimate Frisbee on campus. Good way to get involved. But if you have any questions, go ahead and drop those in the chat right now. We'll be here for about another 20 minutes. But while we're waiting for those questions to come in, do our presenters have anything that they're excited about, most excited about to have kids back on campus in person in the fall?
Of course. Hello. Laughter, joy. They're the reason we are here. And also Club Fair, hands down. Sorry, Tony, Service Fair. But Club Fair, I think, is my like happy place every year. I'm like a little happy woman that day. Club Fair, love it.
Yeah,
Go for
ahead,
it.
John.
No, go for it.
We're also really polite at GU, so. No, I mean, from my perspective, from my end, it's like not having the students on campus last year was such a loss. So excited to have them back in our spaces, and for us to see them engaging in the community. And I think like the best part of my work is when I get to see students, things start clicking for them. Right. And I think this happens across all of our areas. And when they're involved in something that's meaningful to them, that they connect to on a personal level, and these experiences help them have a new language for understanding things or new perspectives that they didn't consider before. And they're starting to piece together how this makes sense for who they are now and who they want to be. Those little like lightning bolts go off, and you get to see it on their faces. And for me, that's the best part of this job. And I can't wait to get our students out and see those light bulbs go off, right? See them make meaning, make connections, make friends, and have these experiences that mean something for their lives, right? So.
Yeah, I don't know that I have much to add other than they are the reason why we're here. Some of the student leaders are already back on campus, and it's just a completely different energy. They keep it real, right? I love their candor. They keep us young and fresh. A shameless plug, I'm really excited for our DICE open house, which will include a few food trucks. And so 200 tickets to the first 200 students who come visit our center. So we're excited about that. And there will be student performances and whatnot. Also, I just dropped in the chat the link to Zag's Ignite to get you there directly.
Perfect. Thank you, Joan Iva. We did have another Q&A in the chat. Question about finding info about club baseball. Zagtivities is a great place to get information about clubs. And then we did again have a question about how many hours you need to devote to club sports. It's usually about 5 to 10, but it can vary depending on the sport. Do you have any more info on that, Dr. Vandenboom? You're muted.
Club sport varies. I put 5 to 10. It depends, like, because technically we consider like Ultimate Frisbee would probably be less competitive and have less practice time than club soccer, because club soccer is playing Eastern or Wazoo or some of those teams. So most teams have a game every weekend. They have a couple practices a week. So yeah, 5 to 10 is probably pretty good. If they're traveling over a long weekend, obviously that's going to be longer because of travel time, but usually, yeah, at least 5 to 10. So.
Awesome. Well, we have about 15 minutes left. If you guys want to keep dropping those questions in the chat. Trying to think. I know that I'm really excited for our student leaders to get back to campus as well. I'm a member of Parent and Family Crew, and all of those kids are just amazing. We love spending time with them. If we don't get any more questions in the chat, I'll close things up in about 5 minutes, but I'm gonna go ahead and put the family's email in the chat. So if you guys think of any questions later, you can send them over to us, and then we'll field them as necessary to our lovely campus partners. There is our email in the chat right there. But yeah, this was our last ZagTalk 101. Oh, we got one. There was something about an app in the video and about events. I believe that was in yours, Dr. Vanderboom.
Yeah, totally. So a couple of good news. So we have a Cork app, CORQ, that your students can go on today and download, and it's free in the App Store. And that's great. And we are hopefully launching in the winter a brand new student app for Gonzaga, which is going to be major. But right now, Cork is a great spot because it's connected to Zagtivities. Yes, intramural does not play other teams from other schools. Intramural is only Gonzaga. Sophia, sorry.
And I know that there's a really good, it's called Freshman Games in the fall, where it's just all of the intramurals put together, and you make teams with your dorms or with your friend groups, and then you just play each other, and it's a really great time. And you get t-shirts if you win. Okay. We'll go ahead and stay on here for about 4 more minutes if you guys have any more questions. Like I was saying, this is the last ZagTalk 101 of the summer. Your guys' next event will be Parent and Family Orientation on August 27th. We're excited to see all of you guys on campus and welcome you to the Zag family. Again, about 3 more minutes for questions if you guys have any.
Families, what's the number one thing your students are like freaking out about? What are they nervous about? That way we'll be ready so they don't freak out on us.
Is there a dress code?
There is, I don't believe, no, there's no dress code. You feel free to wear whatever you're comfortable in. You can dress up, you can dress down, whatever you're most comfortable wearing. And then their students most worried about getting a job on campus and how much to pack, and class workload and balancing all of that.
What I'll say about getting a job on campus, there's going to be a lot. Sodexo, which is our Zag Dining, always has crazy, like 112 openings. So they are a great place to look to for jobs. And then, to be honest, Zags Ignite is a great spot for jobs, departments. Some of us departments are maybe slower rolling to posting our jobs, just getting ready. So know that there's gonna be time. Packing, that's awesome. Yeah. Maybe like bring a smaller load and then say we'll mail it to you, and then they get it at Thanksgiving or something. I don't know.
One of the things I would say is very important to bring is a fan. That was one of the most used things in my dorm freshman and sophomore year.
Class workload, that's awesome. Roxanne, I bet you that there's going to be some great, if your student talks to anybody else in the program who's maybe a sophomore, junior, senior that's been in their major, that might be helpful. I think there's probably somebody in family programs that can hook you up. It's always nice to talk to an older student. So that's a lot. 18. Yeah, that's worth it. That's worth the discussion. That's for sure.
Okay, about 1 more minute left. Any of those last minute questions? If not, go ahead and send them to families@gonzaga.edu. But with that, I'm going to start closing things up a little bit. A virtual round of applause for our 3 presenters today, Joan, Iva, Anthony, and Dr. Vandenboom. We always love having our campus partners on here with us. But yeah, next event, Parent and Family Orientation, August 27th. Thank you all for joining us today, and go Zags!